can get Hannah in here, add to the minion.
Okay, we're on 2 minions.
Hannah's just outside.
Yeah, we'll drag her in when the time comes. Do we have any notion of whether the live stream is running?
Mikhail said it would be on tonight, yes.
Good. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I've been talking with him about things I'd like to see different for Yom Kippur.
I'm
so.
sorry, I'm moving as fast as I can.
No one is rushing you.
Just-
No one is rushing you.
There's just a limit.
No, I've been here for the last couple hours just checking in on something.
Okay. Got a Sholem Alechem story tonight.
Nice.
Only recently translated. It's a Rosh Hashanah Sholem Alechem story, so.
I noticed that ancient Chayil / Sholem Alechem printing on like a wall.
Mhm.
Very nice. No rush.
What?
Is your phone telling
It's
you?
my phone
You
telling
should be somewhere right now.
Yeah, it's my phone. You know, I know it's Yom Tov, but apparently the rest of the world has no idea.
Oh yeah, nobody else knows. It's really shocking how they can know. The phones are watching. Are we up and running on the live stream?
Oh yeah, that's literally what I came up here to say because I heard you being
You heard him
on
ask.
the live stream.
There you go. I'm pleased to hear.
Excellent. We're good. Okay. You know when you'd like to be handy with
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Any moment. I'm going through your beautiful color-coordinated printout.
I put page numbers on there for you.
I
We're on
see
page
that.
5.
No, you're the best.
We're on page 4.
Here's the thing. I am less capable than your printout. That's just the honest truth. Let's go for a niggin.
Really good.
Well, do you need fresh? Oh, okay.
Michaela's going to restock us. We are currently on our last set.
Page 13. This almost autumn night, the shades of darkness in the sky are signs of Earth's turning, the fleeting ways of nature. And we, drawn together in this holy house, filled with New Year's hope and light, turn our hearts toward you in prayer, in worship, seeking life's essence. In the presence of your love, we feel the nearness of those who bless our lives, even in death. Precious memories of their love restore our strength, renew our faith in life's goodness. We acknowledge with gratitude the life you have given us, the bounty that sustains us, your comfort in sickness and sorrow, your compassion in valleys of despair. God of years, God of eternity, bless us now and always. Bless our homes and our families. Be with us in our dreams and in our hopes. Be with us through these days of awe as we search our souls within and seek the lasting shelter of your love. Page 18. O God, accept my prayer as though it were offered by one more worthy of this task, a scholar, one more proficient in prayer, unblemished in character, of more pleasing voice. Let love be our banner, and let it banish our wrongs. May Israel's strife and misfortunes be turned into joy, renewed life and peace. Love, peace, and truth, may they prevail among us, and may there be no impediment to our prayer. Adonai, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel and Leah, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, great, mighty, awe-inspiring God Most High, who said to Moses, I will be what I will be. May it be your will that our prayer reach your presence. For the sake of the righteous and the blameless, the honest and pure of heart, for the sake of your glory, you hear your people's prayer with compassion. Blessed are you, the one who hears our prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, shomei tefillah. We're going to open the ark, and I invite you to rise.
Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness, and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in a new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life.
We are lacking minyan, which is unfortunate, but that does not mean that our prayers are completed. It simply means there are certain elements that are skipped past. Please have a seat. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7, 8. Linda would be 9. If we can get them in here. Okay. You know, when I was a rabbinic student, I lived in Chelsea on 22nd Street, and I used to walk by my family's shul, which is yet another story for another time. Congregation of Munaf Yisroel on 23rd Street. It's still there. It's Chabad now. It's right next to the Hotel Chelsea, or the Chelsea Hotel, or whatever it's called. And I had to be careful what hour of the day I walked by there, because inevitably, if I walked by on my way to morning classes, I would hear, "Serge, we need Kaddish." Kaddish, by the way, refers to the 10th person. So inevitably, now they didn't have 9. They probably had 7. So they would yell at me, "We need Kaddish," which means you're supposed to show up and make Kaddish, right? You're the 10th man, as it were, in this particular shul. But really, I was the 7th or the 8th person, and I said, "Look, you can have me for 2 minutes, but if the 8th and 9th and 10th people don't walk in, you're back, because I got to go to class. You know, I'm not waiting for 20 minutes." And so that's the custom of the 10th being called Kaddish. We're not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7. Okay, we still got to wait for Kana and Mikhail. Okay, we can stand. There you go. Page 20. on page 22. Actually, why don't we read together on 23? Bless Adonai, who spins day into dusk. With wisdom watch the dawn gates open. With understanding let time and seasons come and go. With awe perceive the stars in lawful orbit. Morning dawns, evening darkens, darkness and light yielding one to the other, yet each distinguished and unique. Marvel at life. Strive to know its ways. Seek wisdom and truth, the gateways to life's mysteries. Wondrous indeed is the evening twilight. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ari v'arabim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. Ahavat olam, page 24.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta, Otanu limadta, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu uv'kumeinu, Nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki heim chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, u'vahem negei yom ha'valayla, negei yom ha'valayla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 26.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
Page 28.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך,
Page 30.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 33. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. It's time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross the sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses, within you Miriam dances unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song. Mi Chamocha, page 34 in the center of the page.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, noirati lot osef eleh, malchutecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayom lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב הוגע לו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני ברוך הוא ברוך שמו גאל ישראל אמן.
We are at Hashkivenu on page 36.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushma tzitenu uvoenu lechaim ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. חשקיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. חשקיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכות שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו ועל ירושלים שלום ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו ועל ירושלים שלום. ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכות שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל. שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל.
Let's join in the English on 36. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives, be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace and the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem. The traditional text that follows Hashkivenu in the evening for the holiday is Tiku B'Chodesh. It's not located here, but rather back at page 15.
Yeah?
Yep.
תיקו בחודש שופר בכסל יום חגנו כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב.
Together at the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar, for that is the law of Israel, the way of the God of Jacob. Turn ahead to 42. And I'll ask all to rise for tefillah, page 42.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehillatah. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא, חולים ומתיר אסורים. להחיות הכל, ברוך Adonai מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
In a moment, we're going to continue silently through page 66, but I want to share a meditation from Rabbi Maurice on the words that are most special in our tefillah. Inscribe us in the book of life. For us, for our generation, the book of life has been sadly reduced to words of casual welcome, spoken or written on greeting cards. L'shana tova tikatevu, may you be inscribed for a good year. The book of life. I wonder, is that all it means today? When I hear those words to me have meaning. I do not see a ledger in the skies wherein my fate is written, signed, and sealed. Nor do I see some greeting card bedecked with gaily colored seams, where on the bottom line, unvocalized, appear the words L'shana tova tikatevu. The book of life to me is a symbol. It says to me, you are reported. What you say is more than words whispered into the wind. What you are is something more than pebbles strewn on a beach. What you do, what you say, has an effect. If you've reached page 66 and would like to have a seat when you're ready, I invite you to do so.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata hu Adon lechol hashalom v'tov b'neicha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום, ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ברכה ושלום נזכר ונכתב לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים
Page 71. Ani alav hashalom. May I rest in peace. This is a poem by my teacher, of blessed memory, Yehuda Amichai. Amichai, as he often does, takes something very familiar to us and he goes like that with it. So typically when we talk about the departed, the deceased, we say, Alehem hashalom, alav hashalom, aleha shalom. But here Amichai, in his usual, says, Ani alav hashalom. And he's still alive, right? So if you read, may I rest in peace, I who am still living, say, may I have peace in the rest of my life. Because of course we usually wish peace to people once they're dead. And Amichai doesn't want to wait that long. I want peace right now while I'm still alive. I don't want to wait like that pious man who wished for one leg on the golden chair of paradise. I want a four-legged chair right here, a plain wooden chair. I want the rest of my peace now. I have lived out my life in wars of every kind, and indeed he had. Battles without and within, close combat, face to face. The face is always my own, my lover face, my enemy face. Wars with old weapons, sticks and stones, blunt axe, words, dull ripping knife, love and hate. And wars with newfangled weapons, machine gun, missile, words, landmines exploding, love and hate. I don't want to fulfill my parents' prophecy that life is war. I want peace with all my body and all my soul. Rest me in peace. Alai ha-shalom. Upon me the peace. Peace right now. You'll find the words of Oseh Shalom, page 70 in the center of the page.
Oseh Shalom, Shalom Imroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom Imroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Amen.
I'll invite you to rise as you're able in body or spirit as we open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu. We're on page 74. Ayala, do you mind reading the response?
Yep.
Paragraphs? Can you just grab this? Oh, I can adjust. Just grab mine. Thank you. Avinu Malkeinu, divine parent, strong was the faith of the generations that came before us. In exile, they proclaimed enduring hope in the shadow of persecution. They affirmed your transcendent love and compassion. Ours is perhaps a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust of you.
There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you.
On this night of turning, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome our doubts and speak these words of affirmation.
We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings, accept us in our human frailty.
We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To
this vision, we offer ourselves anew.
Page 76. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu leman ta rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu asei imanu leman shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu shlach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu kara roa gizar dinenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu kodenu b'sefer
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, zochreinu v'zichron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lemancha v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Baneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Baneinu, Ki ein banu masim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu v'aneinu, Ki ein banu masim.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear
Hear
our
our
voice.
voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, chamol aleinu, v'al olaleinu v'tafenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, kalei dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, kalei kol tsar u'mastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, chotvenu v'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, konenu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for your deeds are wanting, or our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Please be seated. So, I've tried over the last 25 seasons to make sure that when we gather on the second night of Rosh Hashanah, that we not simply be repeating solely the liturgy of the first night. There's this custom, the more traditional custom of this double long day of Rosh Hashanah, and instead of offering a sermon, it's my habit to teach or offer a story. Last year, this may seem odd, but many of the great Yiddish writers are not totally translated. Sholem Aleichem, who lived here in New York, and you know best from Tevye the Milkman, Fiddler on the Roof, wrote a tremendous volume in his lifetime in Yiddish. It was translated into English, much of it, but many of his short stories remain in Yiddish and remain untranslated. So this story was translated just last year, and it's called Trying to Make a Living, a Rosh Hashanah story. I think you'll see its appropriateness to this occasion. Want to know why a Jew like me, a father of children, has to sell illegal schmutz like French photo cards? You know what a French photo card is, right? Okay. It's all thanks to Tolmachov alone. May he fry in hell. But since this all happened so long ago, and since Tolmachov is gone and Odessa is back to normal, our story is based in that great land, even though he was writing here in New York, thinking of Odessa, where many of our relatives have origin. Since Tolmachov is gone and Odessa is back to normal, I think I can come out with the whole truth and reveal why Tolmachov was such an anti-Semite. And the truth is that I'm to blame for most of it, I'm afraid, if not all of it. Well, now, you're probably wondering how a street hawker like me who peddles Yiddish newspapers and those French photo cards on the sly comes to General Tolmachov. And what sort of pal am I with generals, anyway? If you can spare a few minutes, I'll tell you an interesting story. It happened many years ago right here in Odessa at this season, the intermediary days of Sukkot. Odessa was still the same old Odessa. No one had heard of Tolmachov, and a Jew could roam around here free as a bird and sell his Yiddish books. Then there weren't as many Yiddish papers as today. You weren't afraid of anyone, and there was no need to mess around with contraband Parisian postcards. In the old days, I used to sell Sabbath and holiday prayer books and Jewish calendars around Langerovsky and Katerineski and Frakonin streets. You could always run into a Jew there, for that was the area where speculators, agents, and various other Jews hung around waiting for a miracle. Just like you see me now, I was strolling along Frakonin Street, the spot where our fellow Jewish speculators wear out their shoe leather looking for business, and I said to myself, where can I get a customer for those few Jewish calendars I've got left? Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are gone and forgotten, and before you know it, Sukkot will slip right by, and I still haven't gotten rid of my little bit of stock. God knows if I'll ever sell those bound calendars, for if they aren't sold before the holidays, you can't even give them away. Later, they're completely useless. And I had 3 of these all-year Jewish calendars left over from before Rosh Hashanah. Oy. I started off with 100 calendars and got rid of them on the street, sold most of them to the stock speculators. These chaps weren't such passionate Jews. I mean, they didn't go for Yiddish books and all that. But when it came to a Jewish calendar for the entire year, well, even that sold. After all, you had to know when Passover comes or the date of a yahrzeit for a loved one. A Jew is a Jew, after all. Well, strolling about, I stopped near Frakonin and looked at the group of speculators running back and forth. I knew every single one of them blindfolded, and I thought, who can I offer these few calendars to if each one's got his supply? I don't think I missed a one. Then I spotted a general with as many medals as I got hair, sitting at the front table at the outdoor cafe on Frakonin Street. He was stirring his coffee with a spoon, talking to a servant, repeating the same thing over and over again, and each time the servant answered, "I get you, Your Excellency." What's he trying to tell himself, I asked myself. I edged up closer to the general's table. I'm only human, you know, and made believe I was looking somewhere else. I heard the general slowly telling that thick-headed peasant what to do. He literally put each word into his mouth. "Remember what I'm saying," the general said. "Go to my house at number 3, Hersansky Street, and tell my wife that Count Musin Pushkin is having dinner with us. Don't forget now, number 3, Hersansky Street, Count Musin Pushkin." The servant stood at attention. His only words were, "I get you." When the peasant left, the general called to him again. "Remember, 3 Hersansky Street, Count Musin Pushkin." As the general was about to return to his coffee, he spotted me standing there almost on top of him, gaping into his glass. Not that I meant any harm by that, God forbid. I just stood there just like that. Well, he raised his voice and he drilled his glance right through me. "What do you want?" What I want, you won't give me, I thought. But then again, maybe yes. So I got a bright idea. I'm only human, you know. Believe it or not, I told him, "Your Excellency, how would you like to buy a calendar?" "What sort of calendar?" he asked. "A Jewish calendar," I said. He looked at me as if I was completely out of my mind and said, "What do I need a Jewish calendar for?" "I don't know what you need it for," I said honestly, "but I need money for the holiday. I have 3 left, you see. How about buying one, Your Excellency?" And I think to myself that it'll be some neat trick if this general bought a Jewish calendar. Well, here's what happened. No sooner did I say the word excellency than he boomed out, "Go away, please." Believe it or not, my blood froze. I'm only human, you know. I grabbed my bundle and was ready to about face when suddenly I heard him say, come back here. What could I do? I had to go back. He asked me to show him a calendar, and I did. Then he wanted to know how much it cost. I told him. He paid me for it right away without bargaining, without saying a word, without anything. How's that for a general? Isn't he worth 3 speculators? Well, that's a start, I said to myself as I took my bundle and went away. A start was well and good, but what next? Where do you find 2 other generals on whom you can palm off 2 leftover Jewish calendars? Then I got another brilliant idea. I'm only human, you know. Why not offer the same general a second calendar? No skin off his back having 2 Jewish calendars. But what would he do with 2? Come to think of it, what would he do with the 1? Thinking like this, a new idea hit me. I remembered how he had tried to pound the address, number 3 Hersansky Street, into that peasant's thick skull. As I lived and breathed, that was where I could find a home for the second calendar. Then I said to myself, now, don't be a bungler, Avram Markovich. That's my name, you see, Avram Markovich. Strike while the iron is hot. Nab yourself another buyer. So without dilly-dallying, I crossed one street after another until I got to Hersansky Street and looked for number 3. Sure enough, there it was. And what a number it was. A private 2-story brick building, fine and dandy. But what now? Ring the bell and ask for the general's wife. And that's just what I did, thinking, I'll be in a pretty fix if a soldier shows up, probably with a dog to boot. He'll toss me out on my ear and set the dog on me. That's all I needed. Some minutes passed, but no one showed up. What luck, no one's in. Perhaps the bell's out of order. I must try again. And believe it or not, I rang again. Once, twice, 3 times. Finally, the door swung open, and there stood a peasant girl holding a broom. What do you want? She said. I wanted to run, and run real quick, but I took my heart in my hands, I'm only human, you know, and said, I have to see the general's wife. It's something personal. She looked at me as if to say, what a queer bird this one is. Then, without so much as a by your leave, she slammed the door in my face. What a welcome. But maybe she'd come back. Then again, maybe she'd send the soldier and the dog, I thought, and wanted to beat a quick retreat. But since I'd already rung the bell, it was too late. Half a minute later, the door opened, and there stood a beautiful young woman, all peaches and cream. Was she the general's wife? Couldn't be. Too young. The general's daughter? Nope, he was too young. But time was a-wasting. What is it that you want? She said. What now, I thought. Should I address her as your excellency? If she really was the general's wife, then that would be right. But what if she wasn't? Why should I give her an honor gratis? I'm only human, you know. So I decided to eliminate the title and start from scratch. You see, the general bought a calendar from me and asked me, that is, told me to deliver it to number 3 Hersansky Street, and that's where they pay me for it. And in case they didn't believe me, the general gave me a sign that Count Pussin Mushkin was eating supper here tonight. She broke into a laugh. It's not Pussin Mushkin, it's Mussin Pushkin. Seeing that you're laughing, lady, I said to myself, you're all right. Be that as it may, I said, Pussin Mushkin, Mushkin Pushkin. What difference, so long as the sign is right? I handed her the calendar. She took it, inspecting it from all angles. How much is it, she asked. I told her. Then she took the calendar, she paid for it, smiled a goodbye. How's that for a lady? Pure gold. She was worth not only 3 speculators, she was worth 3 dozen. So I got rid of the bigger part of my stock, 2 calendars, and only had 1 left. I could now go home and eat supper, right? I had supper and rested, but that 1 remaining calendar was still bothering me. True, I'd gotten rid of 2 out of 3 and was stuck with only 1. But for that very reason, I wanted to get rid of that last one too. What good was an old bound Jewish calendar? Therefore, I had to get rid of it. But how do you go about it if most of the speculators already had theirs? No choice but to roam through town once more. Without dawdling, I took my bundle and went out. Since I knew the 2 main streets, my feet took me there without being asked, right to where the speculators ran around, wearing out their shoe leather. Where else was there to go? Perhaps God would soon provide a customer. After all, it was only a little old calendar. And believe it or not, I wandered back and forth like a lion in a cage, looking at the speculators, watching them scurry about like chickens without heads, looking for business. Everyone was out to make a ruble. But in the meantime, while pacing around, I spotted another general. He too was full of medals. He's a neat one, I thought. It's a godsend. Another general, a customer for my last calendar. It's a shame I didn't have any more calendars, I thought, for if generals start to buy Jewish calendars, all the speculators can go to hell and take the entire stock market with them. While thinking, I looked and realized that this general was actually my general. It was the same general. Believe it or not, I recognized him right away. Evidently, he recognized me too, for he stood and beckoned me to him. Bad situation. What now? All I needed now was to get mixed up with generals. I kicked up my heels and started running good and proper. I knew that such legwork that I'd put 3 streets behind me and him in 2 minutes flat. That's exactly what happened. Half a minute later, I heard someone tailing after me, hollering for me to stop. Who was it? Could it be the general himself in all his glory chasing me? What an eager beaver of a general. Just look what was happening. A Jew has sold an extra calendar, and what a commotion. Generals chasing me. Bad, bad business. What's next? Run faster. But suppose he whistled for the cops. That's all I needed, an arrest. But if I stopped, he'd nab me with a second calendar fraud. Better to make believe that I didn't know what was happening and go on my own sweet way, not running, but not crawling either, just sort of stepping smartly, like a man busy with his own affairs. What if he caught me and asked me why I was running? Then I'd tell him that I was making my way walking. But here's what actually happened. He caught up to me. Bad, huh? But listen to the upshot. Well, if you were caught, there was nothing to be done, so I stopped and looked. But where was the general? General? What general? Baloney! It was just one of the waiters from the Franconian Cafe. He'd run with a napkin tucked under his arm and was wiping perspiration from his face. Damn you, he cried out when we both had stopped. Why'd you take off like a wild billy goat? The general wants to see you. What general? And how'd you know it's me he wants? What do you mean? How do I know? You think I'm deaf? Think I didn't hear the general say, there he goes, the Jew with the books. Catch him and bring him over. In that case, I thought, then all hell hasn't broken loose yet. Doom isn't at hand. I could always think of something at the last minute. I'm only human, you know. Like a flash, a brand new idea hit me. Maybe a miracle would come about and I'd get rid of my last calendar. Without batting an eyelash, I slapped my forehead in mock surprise, spat, and said, well, why didn't you say so in the first place? You should have told me. It's the bookish general. He's a strange chap. All day long he's been bargaining with me for this book, been running me to death. It cost me a ruble, but he keeps offering me a half. I've already told him 75, 70, even 60 kopecks. Let's call it quits. But he's stubborn as a mule and won't budge from that half ruble. May I drop dead right here and now if that isn't why Make sure I have my right page, sorry. May I drop dead right here and now if this wasn't my last book. I wouldn't let him have it for a kopeck under the regular price, but since it is the last one, as you can see, hand over half a ruble and here, run back and give him this one. To this day, I don't know who that general was, but my guess is that it was none other than Tolmachev himself. If not, why did he suddenly let loose such murderous reign of terror against Jews in general, and more so against Yiddish book peddlers in particular? We peddlers of Yiddish books and newspapers felt his wrath more than anyone else. To this very day, we don't dare show our faces on the street selling a Yiddish book or paper. We have to hide it inside our coats like contraband or stolen goods. May my enemies, your enemies, and all enemies of the Jews have as many good years as we have profit out of dealing with Yiddish newspapers. So I have to have a sideline. My sideline, French photo cards, some loose, some sealed in envelopes, and they're my main item now. I handle the newspapers just for fun. There's a big turnover with the Parisian picture postcards. The speculators go for them with more enthusiasm than ever for the Yiddish papers. Oh me, I know it's a vile business, and I'll have to answer to it for someday. But what can you do? I'm only human, you know. A Jew has to make a living. A kid wants to eat. God will probably forgive me. He'll have to forgive me. Has he got a choice? What do you think? Here, it's Hashanah Rabbah already, and finally judgments are being sealed. May it fall on his head, the judgment, on Tolmachev's head. For if it weren't for him, may he rot in hell, I'd still be selling prayer books and Jewish calendars instead of this schmutz. By the way, can I interest you in something? I just got a new shipment in fresh from Paris. So, a piece from a particular period, a reminder of a period in Russia, former Soviet Union, and the Pale, when it was still quite common for Jews to be actively persecuted by governmental agents, but a little bit of tongue and cheek, and hopefully something that'll give us a little hope as we open our Jewish calendars. I have to say, just as I read this tale and I knew it was the right tale. How did I know that it was the right tale? So this morning I told a story about my grandpa Sam, and in encouraging people to participate in our capital campaign. So now I'll tell you the story. I used to go visit Sam and Ray in their apartment on 22nd Street. They didn't have the French postcards, but they had the equivalent. They had the French deck of cards. You know what I'm talking about? The same kind of pictures on their cards, right? That was a thing back in the day. So I said, oh, this is the story for this Rosh Hashanah. If you don't understand that, ask me out. We are at Aleinu as we conclude page 82, and I'll ask everyone to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. נוטה שמיים ויסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד עמד מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום וחשבות אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The writings of Rabbi Jacob Rudin. Death will come. Its hand will not be stayed even an instant, nor can we enter into judgment with it. Our question, why, will go unanswered. But this does not mean that we are helpless in the face of death. We can and we do rob death of ultimate victory by living life as long as it is ours to live. To ask of death that it never come is futile, but it is not futility to pray that when death comes for us, it may take us from a world one corner of which is a little better because we were there. When we are dead and people weep for us and grieve, let it be because we touched their lives with beauty and simplicity. Let it not be said that life was good to us, but rather that we were good to life. You'll find the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 90. If you care to share names, in our family we've had many, many losses this year. Florence Spire, Melissa Elliott, Nina Taft, Steve Schechter, Jules Goldberg. We sanctify their names and their memories as we sanctify God's name and pray for the coming of God's realm. Page 90. We join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba. V'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mivarach le'olam olam elmaya. Yitparach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Leila uleila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru imru. Amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
V'imru. Amen. Our closing song, page 94, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yetzir nivra le'ed nasa v'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yiyeh betifara ve'hu yiyeh betifara ve'hu echad ve'en sheni lehamshilo leachbiram ve'li reishi ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu Eli ve'chai v'chayloli ve'tzur havli beit zara ve'hu nisi u'manos li menat kosi b'yom ekra menat kosi b'yom ekra be'yado achira kidruchi ve'et ishan ve'avira ve'himaruchi giviati Adonai li ve'lo ira Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Kiddush, page 79. Sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikolam ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה יום תרועה מקרא קדש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי ובחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ודברך אמת וקיים לעד ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון.
Amen. L'chaim.
slicing. Shana Tova, everybody.
Shana Tova.
See you more in the future.
Oh, yeah. David, take a piece.
That'll be your second act, Rabbi.
Alex. Michael.
Yeah.
Jeff, face. Paula. Anyone who wants, you don't have to take. There you go, there you go, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Jody?
You busted on immediate.
Miriam? Okay. There you go.
I haven't seen this booth thing in person. It's very big.
The what?
The little, not whatever it's called. The enclosure.
Enclosure?
That thing there. It's a lot
You mean the
bigger.
magic toll booth?
Yeah, it's very big.
Yeah.
We have the same holiday. It doesn't say someone's 90th birthday.
No.
Besides that, it's the same.
It is. Okay, Michael, it's nice to see you. Well, it would be nice if Jews, under the circumstances, we can't hold anyone to blame.
That's right. But it's all, you know, you could say that the live stream, sure, with the live stream.
Yeah.
Of course.
I haven't been here in so long.
Second act
And
for
some,
Hashanah,
you know,
it's not that
I know you don't have a big
popular.
thing,
Never is.
particularly
I
sorry.
didn't even know
Thank
they
you.
existed till I became.
Thank you.
I was like, I what?
Crappy here.